I don't usually do personal segments here on Breaking Points, but I guess this one qualifies. My wife and I are having a baby. Due date is basically anytime in the next few weeks. So first, I hope you can all forgive me. I've been unexpectedly absent or less engaged than I may have been in the last several months, navigating doctor's appointments, illness, and the general chaos of an irrevocable change to your entire life. If you see me disappear unexpectedly sometime in the next few weeks, you'll know why. And while I'll be off for a little while, rest assured, I'll be back and the team here is well prepared. So what I thought I would do is reflect on a few lessons that I have learned throughout the process so far, and point people in the direction of some great books that I've read in the last 9 months that you may also enjoy if you find yourself in a similar position. There is an absolute ocean of bullshit I've discovered out there whenever it comes to pregnancy. From what foods that women are not supposed to eat, and whether you're supposed to drink coffee or not, and exercise, and everything else. If you just absorb knowledge through pop culture like I did, you're forgiven. But in my opinion, it is much more useful to actually investigate claims behind these societal expectations and see which ones actually hold up under scrutiny. For this, there is a rightfully famous book I cannot recommend enough. It's called Expecting Better: Why the Conventional Pregnancy Wisdom is Wrong and What You Really Need to Know by Professor Emily Oster. Emily Oster is an economist who actually used hard data sets to investigate the claims of societal myths and doctors' recommendations behind everything like whether you can eat sushi while pregnant, what type of exercise you're allowed to do, how much, if any, alcohol or caffeine is actually safe, and much, much more. The book is unbelievably useful because it opened my eyes both to the absolute relative risk or lack thereof of certain behaviors that society or the medical system says that there is risk of, but also showed me really how public health guidelines and societal norms are set. Broadly, and I am painting obviously with a big brush, public health guidance is written for the lowest common denominator in the United States. For example, sushi. Sushi has a relatively higher risk of making people sick. Therefore, because there is a proportionate higher risk of getting sick from sushi, absolutely, because of the existence of things like gas station sushi, they have a recommendation, don't eat it at all. Or you could just say, wait, don't get it from a gas station. Exercise the same level of judgment a normal person would when they go to a steakhouse and order a rare steak or beef tartare. Yes, absolutely, of course, your risk of getting sick is higher, but we can recognize restaurant reputation, sourcing, and other things obviously matter. You can do a simple Google search and see whether pregnant women in Japan still eat sushi and what their birth outcomes are. It will shock you to learn they are perfectly healthy. The same example and the same safetyist philosophy behind the guidance from the medical establishment pervades basically everything pregnancy and birth related. You again will be forgiven for not knowing any of this, and that is why I am urging any expectant parent, read these books and her follow-up crib sheet. Furthermore, if you are able, one of these flagship statistics from Oster's book is this recommendation to hire a doula for better birth outcomes and for fewer C-sections. My wife and I have found having a doula to be incredibly helpful in helping understand exactly what we face and to have actual informed consent when and if the time comes to participate in any medical intervention. I want to underscore, if you do not do your own research or speak with people deeply familiar with the process, you will be at their mercy of the medical system. And I do not think that the doctors themselves are actively trying to harm anyone, but it is obvious from the US C-section rate and US maternal outcomes, the system that we are forced to participate in does not line up with the ideal. Broadly, this brings me to philosophy. In the United States, everything is about individualism. What type of health insurance you have, whether you can afford something or not, how much leave can you take, what childcare to pursue. It's all up to you, and there's no true authority on what is best or not. This is not bad per se, it has a lot of strengths, but this process and reading different books has really made me appreciate other countries' attitudes and customs. For example, in the United States today, only about 60% of women are covered by the Family and Medical Leave Act for an average amount of leave of 11 weeks. That is, of course, if you are lucky, and to most people, it sounds reasonable. That is honestly until I saw what an actual physical 11-week-old baby looks like. It's a barely functional tiny human being. Handing it off to a daycare center or stranger, it seems so difficult for me, and I'm not even there yet. This does not even contend with the run-of-the-mill medical trauma that any mother will go through while giving birth. In the United States, postpartum women are expected to attend doctor's appointments in the days after birth, and paternity leave is a luxury roughly available to 20% of US males. By reading books such as The First 40 Days, I learned this is not normal in the rest of the world, a major departure from more civilized societies and how they care for women. In China and in Japan, there's a societal custom known as a confinement confinement period, where women basically don't even leave the house for 40 days. Traditionally, they are surrounded by other women who can cook and clean and take care of every basic need that they have. The regimen is incredibly strict and important for recovery. It is more modern versions that include government-sponsored programs, that include home help, recovery sites for these women, where the notion that someone would be able to be responsible for feeding an infant and doing household tasks in their culture, that's insane. In the US, this is basically the norm, unless you have a family member or you can help, are well off enough to have hired help. Even then, the expectation is vastly different. Millions are expected literally back at work after mere weeks of giving birth. Very little societal understanding or support. Broadly, this reflects my more Asian collectivist mindset to how I think people should be treated after giving birth. But a book that showed me how this can still work in a more Western context is a very popular one from a few years back. It's called Bringing Up Bébé. One American mother discovers the wisdom of French parenting. And as loath as I will be to praise Europeans, it is undeniable after reading this that a Western society that can encourage women to be able to pursue careers without Asian collectivist values can absolutely work. The caveat is you need decades-long cultural buy-in as to the standards of what such state-sponsored childcare institutions should look like, and you need to surrender to standards that are about 10 times higher than the United States. It's unbelievable reading this, the level of care and attention that the French government puts not only onto discipline in childcare centers, but ensuring proper nutrition from a very early age. Their system works because of decades of proven state capacity and its availability to anyone, rich or poor. Costs are variable for the same service based upon your income. I can easily see how it would not work here with so much societal division, but it is something to aspire to, especially compared to the ad hoc and individual fend-for-yourself system that we have here in America. So broadly, these are the reflections that have been on my mind. It is a weird sensation. I'm patriotic, I'm American. Baseline assumption was, yeah, we're the best country in the world. But honestly, you have to wonder if that's truly true when you're starting a family. It certainly is a good place to make money, to pursue individual interests or liberty, buy consumer goods, but I can't help but looking around at skyrocketing costs, distrust in the most basic levels of systems, and see how these women are just left to fend for themselves and think that we really need to change things up if we want more people in this country to have kids. Finally, for fun and letting my mind wander, I read a bunch of different books that won't apply for many years. You may find them useful if you're at this age. How to Raise Kids Who Aren't Assholes, The Anxious Generation, The Self-Driven Child, and even throwbacks like Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother. All of those books have parts that I do not agree with necessarily, but they plant interesting seeds of things that I may or may not do as a parent. So anyways, I hope everyone can wish me luck. Luckily, I'm not doing any of the hard work. My wife is. I'm here to support her. And meanwhile, the true horror that I cannot stop thinking about is how I will not get a good night's sleep again for a long time. And my cherished days of the 8 p.m. bedtime are finally over. Sad.
Kiss them goodbye,
Saagar. That's all right, man. We were going.
Hey guys, obviously I had a lot of thoughts on what Saagar had to say there. So if you want to see my thoughts on this monologue and every other Saagar monologue, make sure you subscribe at breakingpoints.com.